Hi everyone! Today we're going to start our tutorials for search engine optimization. For those that aren't familiar with what search engine optimization is, the definition is pretty simple. In layman's terms, it's making sure search engines like Google can see your pages, index them, and bring them up when users type in search queries. By optimizing your site, you will increase the quality and the quantity of organic traffic that comes to your site from search engines. That said, just because it's easy to understand doesn't mean that it's easy to implement. It's a legitimate full-time job for a number of marketers, so don't get too frustrated if you don't understand it right away or if it's just tedious. We're going to do this step by step, and hopefully these tutorials make the process simple, or at least a bit simpler. Today we're going to start with a really easy tutorial for WordPress on recipe card blocks by WPZOOM. Before we get started, I'll just say by no means is this a do or die or that no other recipe card plugin works. It's just that I find this to be the greatest bang for my buck. My favorite things about them are that they have great customer service, which for a free plugin, I think that's just a slam dunk right there, but also ultimately, it was built to build the best rich snippets, which help with Pinterest and search engine optimization. So that's why I use it. What is a rich snippet or rich recipe? A rich recipe shows metadata right on the recipe query itself, giving people querying a richer experience and increasing engagement. Information in a rich recipe traditionally include items such as description, timing, servings, ingredients, and so forth. Now, what does that really mean? Basically, you're providing users with a preview of your recipe to entice them to click on it. It's really that simple. As far as that list I was just mentioning of what's included in a rich snippet, don't feel obligated to memorize that because luckily this plugin takes care of that for you. What's the actual benefit of a rich snippet or rich recipe? Search engines like Google, Bing, and Yahoo look at metadata and microdata to better index and return results to people's search queries. And the more useful metadata we can provide the search engines, the higher your SERP or search engine results page are likely to be. What does that really mean again? It means the more information you give to a search engine, the higher you are to rank likely. So again, more info equals better ranking. So how do you create a rich snippet? You create a rich snippet or rich recipe with a schema markup, which begets the question, what the hell is a schema markup? A schema markup is a form of microdata that you code into your posts to create rich snippets such as rich recipes or rich pins for Pinterest. At this point you're thinking, really? Now I have to code my freaking site? I'm not a coder and I never want to be one. So this is also where you start imagining the recipe card plugin riding in on a really excited and perhaps slightly drugged up and deranged pony. Why a pony? Why not? The recipe card plugin allows you to enter in your recipe normally as text as you would anywhere else, and then does that back-end coding for you. This is going to allow you to create those schema markups, which create the rich snippets for search engines, rich recipes for Google, and enables rich pins for Pinterest. Hopefully you've already downloaded the plugin and you're ready to go. The nice thing about this plugin also is that it doesn't take a lot of configuration or settings work. It's just literally plug and play, which is fabulous. Easiest way to get started, add a new post, and I'm going to do the bare minimum just to show you how recipe card plugin works. In your own time, obviously you can do it any way you please. So we're going to add in the title, and then we're going to add in our featured image. Now I'm going to add in my recipe block. I use the plugin a lot, so it just shows up right away, but the easiest way to bring it up is to start typing in recipes, and you'll notice the various segments that pop up. The great part about this is that if you wanted to use any of them within the body of your post, you absolutely could, but for the purpose of this, we are going to use the whole card. So you'll notice that it's imported in the featured image and the title. Don't worry too much about these pre-filled areas. It's not a big deal. We're going to get to it. The only one thing that I will touch upon that's really nice is that you can add ingredient headers or group headers as well as direction group headers. So what that means is, I'll show you here, I wanted to break up what people would need for the brownies, for the cream cheese swirl, and then same for the ingredients, which is just really nice if you've got a more complicated recipe. So we've got that done. Here on the right hand side, you'll notice there's some aesthetic elements. It's basically just designing and deciding which layout you like the best. Once you've selected it, we move on. Quick note as I'm scrolling down, you will notice if you're on the free version, it looks a little bit different than mine, and that's because I recently upgraded to the pro version. I used the free plugin for a number of years and absolutely loved it. It was just time to upgrade for a few more controllable items. So here you notice the recipe card image. You can leave it as the featured image that you've already set. You can change it. You can even hide it. Why you would do that, I have no idea. People have done stranger. Image size, dealer's choice, whatever you like. Display print button. You might think nobody prints, nobody saves as PDF, but search engines still like this, so leave it on. Same with Pinterest. Header content align, it's exactly what you think it is. I like to leave it left to right because that's how your gaze naturally flows, because that's how we read. As far as display author, I've left it off simply because I don't have a site that has a multi-author system, meaning somebody wants to see one author's post versus the others, and at this time, nobody is actually searching recipes based on my name, so it wouldn't actually bring any great benefit to my site. Ingredients layout, exactly what it seems like. Now, recipe card video. If you have videos, definitely upload them. They really do help with your search engine optimization. For me, unfortunately, I'm just not there in my blogging career, so it's a skip. Food labels, this is a pro feature, so unfortunately, if you're on the free, you're going to have to skip that. And this is where we get into the meat and potatoes of this tutorial, which is the recipe card SEO settings. When thinking of optimization, we want to help search engines find us, and the best way to do that is by proverbially raising our hands as present whenever a search occurs. And this is what's going to do that. So first off, display courses. You absolutely want this sucker on, because a lot of people will search that way in the sense of healthy lunch options, midweek dinners, whatever have you. So you just want to type in your course, whether it's dessert, appetizers, whatever have you. Next, cuisine. People absolutely search by cuisine. For example, Punjabi chole or Sichuan fish. People are going to search that. Display difficulties. You definitely want this on. And it's not because there's some crazy person out there that's Googling hardest chicken recipe and then making it, but rather people search by ease, such as easy chicken recipes, or they just want to know what they're going to be getting into. So for example, if you had a recipe for duck pate and croûte, and someone said, wow, that looks delicious, I want to make that, and then they would notice that it might take more than, say, 30 minutes, and they'd say, yikes, maybe this is not for today. So it really does bring in a lot of value. But here's where things get a little bit more complicated. Keywords. Keywords and key phrases are words and phrases that people type into search engines to find what they're looking for. So don't fall too far down that rabbit hole just yet of thinking, uh-oh, I have to make a list of every single thing that could ever be relevant. Instead, start planning on what is most relevant. For example, the chances of ranking for a single word are really low. Take pie, for example. You're not likely to be the first result that pops up when somebody just types in pie into Google. That's just life. What I find works is thinking of it compartmentally. So you take two buckets, for example. The first bucket is, what do I need to present to people that are already on my site? And that is to make the experience exciting, enticing, have them click through to more pages and ultimately spend more time on your site. Bucket 2, what do you need to present to people that are on search engines looking for recipes? So let's just get the part that we're not going to deal with in this tutorial out of the way and say here we want to put in key phrases, not keywords. For example, pie is a keyword, gluten-free pie crust is a phrase. The reason we want to put key phrases here is because they end up being behind-the-scenes proverbial hand raises every time someone submits a query to a search engine. Think of it as invisible hashtags. Again, don't go running off like Rambo without a jockstrap here. Instead, start keeping a list of key phrases most relevant to your site and your posts. Think of how you yourself Google. You would never just type in chicken. You'd get a few million results, some of which would range from where to buy a chicken, how to hatch one, someone that's actually a real wuss, And somewhere down that creepy rabbit hole, probably a recipe. But you are, however, likely to type in things such as baked chicken recipe or chicken casserole, one-pan chicken recipe, so you get the hint. Start thinking about how you Google, because realistically, that is how the majority of people tend to Google. Now let's look at the recipe that I've already completed. And as I scroll down, you can see that I've selected the course, cuisines, and you can add multiple, the difficulty, and the key phrases. You'll notice that my key phrases range from the name of the dish itself, to how easy it is to make, to the cuisine type, to other relevant terms that I think people might be searching of when they think of brownies. The only addition that I would suggest, or change I would suggest, is that if you happen to have any sort of dietary restriction that you're featuring, in the sense of vegan brownies, gluten-free brownies, sugar-free, etc., definitely add those in, and anything like that that would be relevant to your audience. So for example, if somebody had a significant number of sugar-free recipes on their website, I would absolutely write in sugar-free recipes. Now that said, don't get really carried away here and start thinking, oh, I need to write everything that anyone could ever Google for. Because if you hypothetically wrote in chicken casserole here, sure, you might pop up when somebody was looking for brownies, but you also get dinged by Google for just making erroneous posts or erroneous key phrases, because obviously they consider that being a bit of a no-no or a faux pas. So keep it concise, keep it realistic, and make it something people are going to be searching for. And before you start to get really panicky and say, well, I don't know what's relevant and I don't know what people are searching for, start with really simple thought process. Like, again, chicken recipe, chicken casserole recipe, midweek dinners, things like that. Things that people on average look for. People have on their posts, things that you see in magazines. It's really that same logic of how we all think as human beings. And before you now start saying, well, I should still put in a significant number of variations, because what happens if somebody searches chocolate chip cookies versus chocolate chip cookie? Google does apply a bit of logic there, so have no fear, you will still rank. Now for the easy stuff. Recipe card details. Display servings, search engines like that, we like that, everyone wants to know what they're getting into. The adjustable servings, that is a pro feature, so we'll skip that. Definitely fill in your prep time, cook time, that sort of stuff. This is really a great area as well to edit any fields you don't like, because inevitably, say if you're making a sauce, it's not really a servings thing, it's a, pints, spoons, gallons, whatever have you. So really use that to your benefit. And scrolling down, the one note I will make to you is always click the calculate total time. I have fallen victim to this a couple times where I just, assumed it would auto-tabulate, and it does not. Display calories, we're going to leave that alone right now, because I know that you love this tutorial so much that you never want it to end, so we will tackle that. Custom labels, it's exactly what it sounds like, whether it's a resting time, chill time, freeze time, whatever you want, super beneficial. And now here we come to that schema markup we talked about a few minutes ago, and it's really, really helpful, because everything that's done and done right, you notice, is in green. Everything that is not done is in red. And the goal is, in an ideal world, to have all of this be green, because the more information, again, the better ranking. And so now it seems that we're pretty done, right? No, it's a lie. We're never done. So we're going to add in our nutrition block. Luckily, this is a free feature with the recipe card plugin, whether you're using the free plugin or the paid. So we click that. And the only one qualm I have with this is that it does not auto-tabulate your recipe in any regard. So you do have to go to another website, put in your recipe, get the results, and then manually fill this in. It's the only real issue I have with it, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time that it does that for you. And as far as why we put this in, again, more information. People like to know. For my recipes, everyone looks at them and says, well, no wonder you're fat. Look at the recipes, look at the nutrition label. Whatever. It is the way it is. But that's it. Hopefully you're still there, you're not crying yourself to sleep, and you tune in for round 2, where we go through Yoast and further search engine optimization through our content. Thanks so much. Bye. Say bye, Nash.
Bye.
Love you!
Love y'all.